It's bright and early right here on Channels Television. Welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. We're broadcasting live from the nation's commercial nerve center and, of course, our global headquarters. And I have Bukola. Good morning.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Good morning.
Brand new day, right?
Absolutely.
Brand new day, brand new week, and we're back and better. Up bright and early as usual. Welcome to your perfect morning starter on Channels Television. I am Bukola Cook, and hope you had a restful weekend. But some of us, weekends also mean working.
Working, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to play out. I'm just a bit concerned. There's a lot to look at that had played out in the weekend. Of course, politics was a big one, which we're going to discuss later on the show. But because two things crossed my mind. And first thing was, I constantly get scared by the privilege of what we do and our proximity to the people we get to be close to and the job we're given to do as people who hold the powerful to account. Sometimes you have the opportunity to have known certain persons before they became quote-unquote powerful, and then they become powerful. By powerful, I mean they get into office, they are one office or the other, occupy one office or the other. I don't want to mention any specific office. And then you compare who they were to who they are right now. And sometimes it's totally they are at variance with each other. Some turn out good, some turn out very horrible. What I'm saying in essence is that I get terrified by what power can do to people. So I kind of agree that sometimes when you get power, what power does to you is to bring out who you really are. You've always been that person. If you're evil and insensitive and callous, it's going to show because now you have the opportunity. If you are kind-hearted, you're compassionate, you have the people at heart, it's going to show. So I'm saying that to say, now that all of us are preparing for this election, because election is what is happening right now, examine the people that have had the opportunity to have power and ask yourself, what did power produce in their lives? Are they the kind of people that should have power? I'm telling you for a fact, Bukola, from where I sit, there are people that should never have access to power because what they are doing with power is very disturbing from my own point of view. So you have your governors, we have our president, you have senators, you have members of the assembly, you have local government chairmen, you have members of the reps and state assembly. When you examine them, what have they been able to do with power? That's my simple question this morning. I'll just processing it over the weekend. And I just hope we can't get a perfect situation, but Bukola, we can get somewhere with the kinds of leadership we need for our country. Some are trying, some had no business or have no business being in power. That's my take, a quick venting this morning, Bukola.
Jeffrey, it seems as if some of your, or one of your, old friends that you've always known may have accessed power in the last
I have a lot of them.
Couple of days, and then they stop picking your calls.
No, not picking my calls.
Because that's what typically happens. No,
it's not just
when you have a friend who just attains an office, and after some time, perhaps
no, I don't have a problem. People
they're still picking your calls, but afterwards, they no longer pick your calls. They no longer read your messages.
No, it's far from that. Okay. I don't, by the grace of God, I built myself to the point where even what I am today, being in the public, doesn't give me any point of validation at all. And this is being sincere. So picking my call, not picking my call, I'm talking about what you're able to do with the power you have. I've seen people become power hungry. I've seen people become megalomaniacs. I've seen people become all kinds of things. It has nothing to do with personal. I just observe, knowing who they were and then who they are right now, said, nah, this guy, this is not who you were.
Well, we could draw out a lot of examples from this current government. When they were in opposition, they led the fuel subsidy protest, with other key members of the civil society, right there at the Ganifa Park in 2012. Very historic and very significant, but the same government is in power now, and it's removed fuel subsidy, and it's an advocate of fuel subsidy, and all those speakers against that particular policy at that time have become astute supporters of fuel subsidy. We could draw another example of this same government which carpeted the former PDP-led government for being unable to tackle insecurity. But, you know, we're here now in 2026, May, with political parties conducting primaries, and we're in the middle of very serious political concerns with a lot of support expressed for the administration, with an interpretation of its efforts, you know, to tackle the security challenge in a narrative that, you know, is as compelling as, you know, confusing when you wonder what the results are as against this administration is working. It's different from, you know, the denial that we saw that shaped the approach to tackling insecurity under the last administration. And so from Jeffrey's analysis this morning, you could say that the test of power has shown, you know, the character of this particular administration. And so what is it for you? Has it really been renewed hope, especially as we begin to look at the result of the primaries, where Mr. President got nearly 11 million votes, well over what was recorded even in the actual election in 2023. So has it been renewed hope for you, or as some would say, renewed shege? And Jeffrey, speaking of which, I just asked you before we started off the program that have you seen the breakdown of the results from the different local government or maybe even states of the federation, so that we can, you know, see what those states were able to turn out, and then we can compare it with the outcome of the real elections in 2023. It's really an interesting development coming through from the presidential primaries of the All Progressives Congress. And, you know, the president was speaking to the conduct of the primaries as peaceful, and that's the way politics really should be. Perhaps if we have that soundbite ready, we can help you to get a feel of what happened during the elections. And the national chairman of the party was also speaking to the outcome of the, you know, the presidential primary as very competitive. And I did hear another soundbite, you know, where one of the party leaders was saying that a challenger got the party to wake up, to stand up and see that, you know, it was not just going to be business as usual. But, you know, what was the difference between that opponent, you know, contesting and not contesting at all, Jeffrey?
So
Mr. Stanley Osipo, right?
Let me be as clear, so that I'm going to be quoted as clear as crystal.
Yeah.
The APC has a model. I have studied their model.
Yeah.
When it comes to a new leadership, Muhammadu Buhari's first coming, it was by delegates election. When it was time for him to be re-elected, it was by direct primaries. And Muhammadu Buhari scored, I think, 14.6 or so million votes. And then in the real election, he scored about 14.1 million votes. When President Bola Tinubu emerged as president, he was through that indirect primary, I should say, that indirect primary of the 2015. And then 2023 was also indirect primary, delegates election. And so re-election now, they've gone back to the issue of direct primaries. And I feel that they also influence the whole consensus and direct primaries as a model. If anybody told you...
Please be clear, they influenced, how do you mean?
I mean, of course, they're in the majority in the National Assembly, so, okay, you know, they can move things.
Around.
I'm saying, I believe, yes.
Okay, so the Electoral Act as amended may have been amended to support the ruling party.
If you look at how their party functions, and there's nothing wrong with it if, you know, it's in the general interest of the people, depending on what you're looking at.
Well, Jeffrey, even if there was something wrong with it, you know, in this type of democracy that we operate, it is usually said that the minority would have their say, but the majority would have their way. That's at the risk of the majority being wrong.
There's that point as well. Where I'm going to with all this, my big grammar, is the fact that if anybody tells you, any APC member, anybody tells you that this was a contest, that's a lie. This is not a contest at all. What the APC tries to do, especially with this election, is to see how on ground they are as a political party. So this was not a primaries for contest between Stanley Osipo, who members of the party don't even know, with greater sense of respect, and President Bola Tinubu. This was to evaluate how well they are on ground. It's an assessment exercise. And also to be what I call electoral vote show of force, kind of. They were well put together. They registered 12 million votes, according to them. and then I think accredited
12 million registered members.
Members, yes.
Yeah.
Registered members, and then I think the people that are accredited comes around 11 million, almost 12 million or all. So this had nothing to do with Stanley Osifo. This is APC trying to test the waters and saying, okay, I think we're ready to go as far as the 2027 election. But it doesn't work that way. Even them, they are not naive to know that it doesn't work. Of course, I'm sure there are those geometric countings that happen in certain parts of the country, like we saw in other primaries, where from 1 to 1,000. And, you know, when it comes to elections that don't use beavers, you see all kinds of numbers. Primaries of political parties like this, local government election, we have miraculous numbers. So even the APC, the ones who understand how this thing works, they are not fooled. They know where the real numbers are and where the real numbers are not. So in my assessment, I feel that in the coming election, there are things that will work for and work against the APC. There are things that will work for and work against the opposition. The APC has the uphill task of proving to Nigerians where they've not been able to solve insecurity. The issue of the economy biting hard on people is also a great factor, and that will involve a lot of protest votes as well. But the opposition themselves, what is working against them is the ability to put their own house in order as opposition, splitting their strength in so many directions that will work in the interest of the All Progressives Congress. So where I'm going to with all of the Bukola is the fact that don't be deceived. This was not direct primaries. It's a contest between Stanley Osifo and President Bola Tinubu. This was just the APC testing the waters. They're asking themselves, how solid are we on ground? And they've made up their mind. They know that some states, they're not going to win. They know the states, they will get 25% and all of that. And the numbers are now out. You know, my dear friends, Monday Okwebolo, you know, he has said he's going to give the president 2.5 million votes. In this primary, I don't think he gave the president to 200,000 from his party. I don't know. Because that's why I tell you, there's something called political hot air. I have studied this thing, and nothing moves me easily like that. But it's a politics, it's a game of numbers.
But Jeffrey, before we reach our conclusion...
So the ADC is doing their primaries, by the way.
Yeah, but don't forget, let's also mention that an ADC group that are loyal to Dumebi Kachiku has picked him as their presidential candidate for the 2023 election.
Yes.
But we'd like to see, you know, what the outcome of the votes are from Edo State in particular before we conclude.
No, it's 130 something thousand.
It's 130.
I will check the numbers.
Yes, we should check the numbers.
Far cry.
But it's important to point out that Governor Monday Okwebolo was not able to deliver 2.5 million votes in this presidential primary.
He didn't say in this primary,
but
he said in, so that we don't quote him wrongly.
The morning shows the day, Jeffrey. If that can be done in 2027, it should be able to at least attempt it in 2020.
He cannot. Can I say it
2026 again? Ahead of
he will not give the president
during the primary.
There is no, let me put it clear. No state in Nigeria, quote me, and I want to come back and say I'm wrong. There is no state in Nigeria, even the KKK, cannot give the president 2.5 million votes.
Kaduna,
Katsina, Kano.
Yeah.
They cannot give the president 2.5 million votes as things stand now, except things change. And the president knows he's too smart, but he's going to take all those.
All right. But another thing we should point out before we exit this particular timeout on the program is that the APC says it has been able to record over 12 million registered voters during his e-registration exercise, hence what we have seen in this presidential primary, where the president scored about 10.9 million votes, nearly 11 million votes. Don't forget that in 2023, the popular vote in the presidential election, the actual election for the APC, for the incumbent who won at that time, President Bola Tinubu, was 8.794 million votes. And so let's see if the APC will be able to return this feat in 2027, January, I believe that's when the presidential election will hold. We'll be able to repeat this feat at that time. We should be looking at the numbers that have been turned out during this presidential primary and, be able to tell whether indeed the primary election was credible, was conducted, and those numbers are actually real figures and not geometric counting that we have seen shape this particular primary election, especially for the All Progressives Congress. But indeed, all other political parties conducted primaries, over the weekend, and we've seen some candidates emerge. But Jeffrey, it's a confusing situation, and we'll delve into it, during our conversations much later on the program. We've seen some PDP members producing some candidates. Is it the Wike-led PDP, or is it the Saminu Turaki-led PDP? We've also seen the ADC produce some candidates. Is it the Dumepika Chiku group that are producing candidates, or the, if you like, former Senate President David Mark-led group producing those candidates? So we should look at those processes critically. But we'll take a moment now, right, Jeffrey?
Yeah, so my confidence in being able to predict, in fact, when you get close to the election, I will not give you exact numbers from my own extrapolations of how the president and other parties may likely fare. I hope I'll be able to look at all of them. Tell you, my confidence is the fact that as long as Beavers works, there are a lot of things that you're hearing all these politicians that will not happen. Because the beauty of Beavers, that I'm not saying people can't cheat, but the way you rig, because there will be rigging, there will be violence, there will be all of that. The scale of it is different. The way you rig in Nigerian election now, you have to rig around the numbers on the Beavers machine. So if there are 1,000 registered persons at this polling unit, 1,000 for instance, of course you don't expect the entire 1,000 to come in most cases. So you maybe see 500 persons come out or 700 come to be accredited. That's what the good thing about the visa is. Not like giving you ATM machine to go and withdraw money with my card. You have to be physically present. That's
for the Beavers to authenticate you with your card.
You can't do it on behalf of anyone. So that's the confidence I have in predicting these numbers. So when you now, people now accredit to have 1,700 or 500, if you have to rig, you have to rig around that 700. However you want to do that mischievous thing. If you do 701, that election is cancelling that polling.
Jeffrey, I'm not so confident.
I am.
And you know why?
I have to be confident
because of what we've been seeing already during these primaries. We've seen events ahead of these primaries where, party members converge at a particular location, at a political rally, and they're getting envelopes in exchange for their beavers, for their voters card. So we've seen that already.
No,
so is that a pre-election inducement that is happening already?
There will be inducement. There will be all kinds of shenanigans that will happen. There's this much we can do because our institutions are not strong, not even INEC. I'm saying that with voter apathy, with the records we have in terms of data, we are doing somewhere around 25 to 35%. We hardly do 40% of the entirety of the registered number of voters. So that's the premise I'm coming from. If you have to rig, you have to rig around the numbers. You can't rig beyond the numbers. But the watchful eyes of the EFCC and INEC, we hope.
Our politicians have become adept at maneuvering around that situation. There was an
election that happened, I think in Kogi State, where they brought a pre-filled EC88. EC88.
From EC88?
Yeah. I mean, pre-filled. INEC had to act quickly. So we'll be here. We'll do a series on how elections are rigged. I'll take it in Nigeria. But we'll take a break. We'll be back after this. Stay with us.
I accept with profound humility and profound gratitude the nomination of our great party, the All Progressive Congress, to stand again as your presidential candidate in the 2027 election.
Well, it's decided, and of course, things are gaining momentum already in the ruling All Progressives Congress ahead of the 2027 general election. But let's get to what the papers are saying, especially about the conduct of those party primaries that took place across board in the All Progressives Congress and, of course, in other political parties over the weekend. And guess what? TGIM, sorry, pardon me. That's how you know that Mr. Adayo Akintobi joins us on the newspaper review segment this morning. And he's looking a lot like Jeffrey. Very Monday-ish, very...
Monday. Monday.
It's a new beginning. Monday is always a new beginning.
Always a new beginning.
Absolutely.
So let's get to it, Mr. Akintobi. This Nigeria is our first paper. Tinubu, I also lose sleep, weight over economy. Admits insecurity in the country, vows to fight it. APC presents president with 2027 nomination certificate. I'm sure there's a lot for you to chew on this morning. It's his disposition or acknowledgement about the challenge of insecurity in the country. And of course, those numbers, Mr. Akintobi, we've had a good time talking about it, but I'm interested in your thoughts about those numbers as well. 10.9 million.
The thing that occurred to me was, how do you count 11 million votes one by one in a few hours? Do you know how many 11 million really is? This is a fantastically large amount of numbers. And to think that the way they counted them was head by head by head, I think it would have been a logistical nightmare to actually have been able to count and collate that many votes in that short a period of time, even when we have the general elections that have just double that quantity. And of course, they've got the logistical strength to cover the entire country. They're not able to count them that quickly. And they've got technology on their side. This one was manual. So those numbers might be a bit fantastic in terms of they might just be estimates. But the bottom line was, as Jeff said, which I agree with, the APC tested the waters.
You know what? That's a very beautiful way. Euphemism for saying they lied.
There are certain things we can't say on national television. Absolutely. So, but I listened to the president, and I like the fact that he was empathetic towards our situation. And what I saw was him roll the dice on basically his record, his performance in the first 4 years, and said, look, trust me, I know that things are tough, and there are four primary things. There's inflation, there's fuel price, there's insecurity, and there's unemployment. And those four things are ravaging the country at this point in time. And he's saying, trust me, the steps I have taken will ease these hardships, that I will continue down the line I have started. And I assure you that by the time the second 4 years are done, you'll begin to see relief. So 2027 is going to run on how many people still hold out hope for that to happen versus how many people are tired and feel hopeless already. So it's actually quite easy now. The line is drawn between the incumbent, who's going to run on his record, and the opposition, who's going to assail that very record and speak to Nigerians and say, look, is your life better off today than it was 4 years ago? The thing that I see coming out of this, in spite of the way the opposition looks fractured, I think the opposition is better organized for 2027 than it was in 2023. Especially if the PDP can get its house in order. I think that the opposition is more organized. I mean, we heard that former Cross River Governor Donald Duke threw his hat in the ring over the weekend through the PRP, People's Redemption Party. That's Aminu Kano. We've already got Sheyi Makinde running under the APM.
APM PDP.
APM PDP. It's a hybrid.
It's an alliance.
APM and a group of the PDP.
A group of the PDP.
So now you have to posit it clearly so that we know what we're dealing with.
The ADC it seems to be confused and seems to be stumbling from one crisis to the next. The Dumebi Kachuku section said they suspended the NWC of David Mark, who are having their primary today to pick between Hayatuddin, Amechi, and Atiku. But the convention of the Dumebi Kachukwu section had their own convention yesterday and chose him. So ADC might have 2 presidential candidates.
Are they just throwing a spanner in the works of the Senator David Mark-led ADC? Because, you know, it's their names that are on the INEC website as the recognized officials of the party.
Yeah, they are the recognized leaders of the party without a doubt. But remember that Dumebi Kachukwu's point, his position from the beginning has been that they elbowed their ways into the party. They didn't, they weren't properly elected. The fact that INEC has them in the leadership of the party does not mean that the general body of the party cannot suspend its NWC. The question is, did Dumebi Kachukwu and those people who took that action yesterday, did they have the locus? Are they bona fide party members? Did they have a quorum? What does their constitution say about suspending the NWC? Who are those who have the authority to do that? So the fact that you are in the leadership does not mean if the general party is disgruntled with your leadership, they can't replace you. So we'll wait and see in the coming days. It'll be interesting, but I worry a bit about the ADC because this split is worsening their situation. We thought that with the court ruling that came the other day, everything was sorted. But clearly, see, this is the problem with just moving into an already existing party. There are people who are already there before you came. And unless you make your bones with all of them to where everybody has a clear understanding of where they stand, you're going to have these issues. Look, even the NDP that is new, that Peter Obi and Kwankwaso NDC, there's already issues. They're already coming up with complaints and, oh, we were here. Even if we were here just 2 days before you came, we were here before you and we worked for this party. So how can you just come in and think you're going to take over? So these are some of the issues that we are contending.
You know why I'm smiling?
Yes.
I'm smiling because this is the season of political hot air and hustling.
Yes.
So you make up your mind who are the hustlers and who are the real politicians. I will not say that. Second is, everything will boil down to what the law says.
Yeah.
Because INEC will look at who the law said they should recognize,
yes,
irrespective of whatever you want to do, whether you're in PDP, APC, NDC, AD, what's that party? APM, PR, now PRP, yes, and all of that.
Yes.
The worry is that the opposition may be walking into what the president would like them to walk into, a divided house. And because that is the only and perhaps the strongest reason why Bola Tinubu became president, a divided house.
Yes.
And so now it looks like, you know, the last night it was 3 or be 2, let's just say 2. And now it looks like it's going to be more.
Yes.
But whether those ones will be able to pull the votes is a different kettle of fish.
Yes, that's the thing. And you look at like the PRP now, that just over this weekend, you ask yourself, what does Donald Duke really think he can accomplish in terms of
numbers coming
in this late?
With greatest respect.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been out of politics for a couple of decades now almost, and he's coming in very late. The thing about it is, even despite the fact that the Federal High Court rolled back this notion of the time is still very short. September probably, and we still have court cases, you know, all these cases, all these situations.
Yes. And INEC can react to that High Court ruling at any time.
No, INEC would definitely have to react between now and the 30th.
And it could upturn the scheme of things as we know it.
For now, based on that court judgment, INEC has no choice. They have only one option: to appeal the case or stay execution, or just implement if they don't want all the headache.
Absolutely.
You know, I think it's not as if anything INEC did is totally wrong. It's just that they wanted to put their house in order. But the law says, why are you doing this when there's supposed to be more time? You know. But let's go to Daily Trust.
Okay.
Daily Trust. ADC presidential primaries, Atiku Amechi to Dean battle for ticket. Yes, we've talked about that. And so let's focus on this ADC for a moment that you mentioned, because they look like it's a very interesting party to look at, because they built a momentum that Nigerians were like, okay, I think APC should be worried now until people like Obi and Kwankwaso left the party.
Yes.
Now Dumebi has led his people to say he's the sole presidential candidate. David Mark is the one recognized. The gentleman, Nafi Gombe, now they say, let's see accelerated. They say, we want to change judge. It's just a conundrum of confusion. What do you make of it?
Absolutely. ADC at one point was looking like the beautiful bride. Everybody was jumping into the ADC, orbit. And it looks like I called it a spanner in the works. I said, let's watch out for spanners, and the spanners have come, and they've come relentlessly. And it looks like the ADC now has lost its momentum. They've taken the wind out of the sails of the ADC with all this contention. It wouldn't surprise me if it's sponsored, because at one point it was really looking like it was coming together as a formidable opposition. And in politics, look, all's fair and equal in love and war. In politics, you deploy your strength where you can. And so if you are seeing the APC, ADC as a threat, it's incumbent upon you to do whatever is legal. That doesn't mean it's ethical or it's moral, but as long as it's legal, in politics, all's fair and equal. So if the opposition, if the incumbent is playing a role in destabilizing the ADC, then it's politics as usual. But it's unfortunate, because I think now, if they had been able to coalesce around the ADC the way it started out in the beginning, where all the opposition people were all congregating there, when OP went there, Atiku went there, Amechi went there, we saw Aregbesola, we saw El Rufai, we saw Layali Moke. There were some big heavyweight names across the Nigerian political spectrum that were all gathering.
The tier 1s and the tier 2s and the tier 3s.
All the tiers were all gathering under ADC. And so that burgeoning movement became very scary, because it was becoming a formidable force. So spanners were thrown in the works, and they've been very effective in destabilizing the ADC, which as of this moment, there's no certainty about what's going to happen with the ADC. We may end up with 2 presidential candidates from the same party. We just may.
Well, let's see how that plays out.
Yes.
I don't know how much time they've got, to head to the courts again to determine the outcome of that. But let's go to the Abuja Inquirer this morning, and I'm spoiled for choice, on which stories to highlight. We've exhausted that of the ADC and the presidential primaries of the APC. But take a look at this. While, of course, by the way, party members in the APC urging votes for Mr. President, saying he will consolidate on the reforms. I, in fact, heard, the Minister of Health campaigning in Bauchi say if Bauchi goes the same way it went, there will be continued suffering, but that suffering can be lifted in 2027. It looks like suffering now has a new definition. Mr. Kitobi,
yes.
Rising energy costs, FCT residents resort to charcoal firewood, and this is the federal capital. So if the federal capital is resorting to this, what's happening with the energy crisis in other parts of the country?
Well, before we go to other parts of the country, you're talking about charcoal and firewood for the FCT. How about the main place in the FCT, Aso Villa, that is totally on solar and has got off the grid? So if they've set an example for all of us that, hey, guys, go and find alternative means of power. Because we ourselves in the villa have discovered that electricity is too expensive, energy is too expensive for us, so we found an alternative. You guys go and find an alternative. And so people are getting creative. Charcoal, when was the last time, even when I was, still in diapers, was the last time I heard of charcoal being used as a form of generating energy?
In the village it's still used.
Well, in the village it's still used, but in urban areas, when have you ever even seen, I can't even remember what charcoal looks like. I just think...
You're a big man.
No, it's not about big man. It's not about big man.
Jimmy, I knew you were going to do that. Forgive him.
I forgive him. I think it's black, though. That much I remember. I think it's black. But yeah, charcoal, firewood. In the cities, you now see solar panels on every rooftop. Yesterday, for example, where it rained cats and dogs in Lagos, I felt sorry for all the solar people because they couldn't get any sun, so they had no power in their homes, and they were.
In fact, they lose their peace. Whenever there's a thunderstorm, solar power owners, they're racing and wondering what's happening. They're going outside to check. Yeah.
So we were all the same. Those of us who are still on the grid, we had no electricity, and the solar people couldn't generate power because it was a rainy day. So we're stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea. It's just not a good situation all the way around. But look, the Minister of Darkness has left to go and run for government.
Oh dear, I didn't see that coming.
So perhaps
apologies.
And he lost the race, by the way.
We will now get a Minister of Light.
All of them who resigned from the president's cabinet. They all lost. Yes. And I don't know why they
no, there were two who
that's a feedback.
There were two who made it. There were two. Yeah.
From the present cabinet?
Yes.
Which state is that?
I can't recall. But there were two.
Maybe the popular ones.
There were two. No, not the president. I'd never heard their names before.
Oh, really?
Because in Bauchi, I didn't see the minister that resigned winning the primary in Bauchi. Tugar. Did
did not win. To the best of my knowledge.
Tugar did not win.
He did not win.
Minister of Foreign Affairs?
Yeah, he didn't win.
He could not have won.
He didn't win.
Adelabu did not win as well. At least
he
so
didn't
far.
win. So far, he didn't win.
No.
Who now won? I think that gentleman, I think transportation, that I barely knew his name.
Might be him.
No, he didn't. I don't think he won.
Well, there were two. I promise you.
The former minister of State for Labour, the female minister, did she win her primary?
Yes. The female minister.
I mean, the ones that are running for governor.
Governor, yeah.
No, she's not running for governor. She wants to return to the National Assembly.
No, I'm focusing on the ones that want to be governor. Not,
okay. No. I don't think any of them did.
With the greatest respect, that means I transfer. I don't even know his name.
What's his name? Mr. Seidu Al-Kali.
Okay.
I hope I'm right.
The ones I'm talking about are National Assembly.
No. Yes. I'm talking about the ones who wanted to be governors.
Okay, no,
you know what, Jeffrey? That's a cue for our production team. We need to do a tally of those who have won.
No, we're waiting. It's very deliberate because let the party come out with a list, complete list. Since they say it's end of the day, we'll now know what to do. It's
an ongoing process. And of course, for those who didn't win, that's a feedback for the administration, as we have done a roundup of feedback of what Nigerians are saying about some of the leading stories. I almost thank Mr. Daria Kintobi for coming through to put the stories in perspective. He's a journalist and public affairs analyst. Thank you, Mr.
Thank God it's Monday.
Yeah, TGIM.
Absolutely.
And so we'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll begin. Yes, we'll continue our analysis of the conduct of the primaries. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our conversation around the politics of Nigeria. Let's bring in our guest, the public and political affairs analyst, Mr. Jide Ojo. Mr. Ojo, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Jeffrey. Good morning, Bukola. It's a pleasure. Happy New Week.
Wishing you the very same. I don't know which of them you monitored. Of course, the APC primaries happened at the weekend. The Dumebi Kechuku groups has also picked him as a sole candidate. We also are seeing that the ADC, led by David Mark, were doing their primaries today. We're seeing, it's a season of primaries, but I don't know which of them because we're spoiled for choice. So perhaps let's start with the big one, the APC. The president, 10.99 or so million votes secured across the 36 states and the FCT for the primaries, and the president has appreciated his members of the party and the leadership for believing in him for re-election. But let's interrogate the numbers as well. What do you make of it?
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. So, past 2 days, I observed the APC presidential primary here in FCT on the auspices of the Coca Center. So, we are two that were deployed, and on Saturday I went around the Federal Capital Territory. And yesterday, the entire yesterday, I was one of the accredited observers at the Presidential Coalition Center, the Bola Tinubu International Conference Center here in Abuja. I can tell you without any fear of equivocation that what was done in the last 2 days was, at best, symbolic, very, very symbolic. Those figures are just, I'm trying not to say they were cooked, because it bears no direct connection to the reality that was on ground. There is no election, primaries that people only got to know the mode on the eve. It was only on Friday that the party came out to say, oh, we are going to be doing direct primaries. There was no prior foreknowledge whether what was going to happen was consensus or direct until maybe Thursday or Friday. So where then how then did they mobilize out of supposed 12 million registered voters? They were able to get 11 million plus to come out and vote. I went around FCT on Saturday afternoon. I went to Kubwa, I went to Central Area, I went to Area 10, I went to AMAC Secretariat. I did not see any activity. I did not. In fact, at the Kubwa ward, where I used to vote when I was living in that community, which was supposed to be the ward center, we were told no activity happened at that place. So we went around, and eventually we now waited till yesterday. And the figure for FCT, we were told that FCT recorded 36,103 votes for Mr. President. I don't know where that figure comes out. But beyond the figures, when you also look at probability of the turnout, how possible is it to have over 90% turnout in an election that even most party members did not know the voting centers? How did that happen? So you have huge, purportedly huge turnout in many states. Look at Rivers. Rivers are 23 local governments. Some of these local governments are on the riverine. Yet, by 3 p.m. or thereabout, there was an announcement of total number of vote cast. Even in an INEC conducted election, where you are supposed to move results from polling unit to ward level collation, to local government collation, down to the state collation. In this election, they said the elections were held at ward level. At what point were they able to move results from ward collation to local government collation before the state collation, and yet you were able to return huge figures before dusk? So I think they just did this to say, we will look out for how the general elections will pan out. But suffice to say that what I saw was just a carnival assault yesterday. The young man, Osifo, was not even allowed to give a concession speech. He was there. He enjoyed his 5 minutes of fame. He was interviewed by different media. But I thought they would have even given him 2 minutes to speak to, how he felt and all of that. But all the governors were there. The other thing I saw was that only Senator Uche Ekunife was the returning officer out of 36 states. Only I was of course, we know that all the governors are male, and they are the collation officers. But at least in the 5 other states, there were no woman to even serve as collation officer except in Anambra. Then we saw that this whole thing was just a coronation. A coronation. Somebody spent 100 million to score 16,503 votes. And in 21 states, the guy got 0. In 21 states, he got 0. In his native Edo, he got only 1 vote. But as I said on other media platforms, it's within his right to throw his money whichever way. Some are insinuating that he was sponsored. There are no evidence to show that. So I will work within the remit of what we know, that he is a businessman. He has invested his 100 million. And for whatever it's worth, at least today we are talking about him. He has put his family name on the map, on the electoral map of Nigeria. Anytime we are talking about this 2027 election, we are going to be talking about a young man called Osifo that contested against the president. So if that is the name he wants to make that made him to invest that monstrous sum of money, it's within his right to do so. But I think the election could have been more competitive if the APC had taken more time to plan it. I do not see credibility in an open ballot where people just queue behind the picture or the candidate. And we have seen the geometric counting of numbers in the earlier primaries that were conducted, where somebody will move from 5-7, then 25, 50, 75, 150, and then before you know, you look at the queue number on the queue may not have been more than 100, and then you are declaring that the number of people voted were 1,000 plus. Meanwhile, there is no independent way of verifying. If you want to contest that outcome, will you go and call all the people back and start the counting afresh? Which is why the so-called option A4 model is antithetical to democracy. And it also opens up to intimidation. Because the global standard is that it must be secret ballot. It has to be secret ballot. I don't think for the humongous resources that APC garnered from sales of nomination fund, if they have planned this adequately and they know that they have over 12 million people on their register, I think they should have been able to print ballot paper, a customized ballot paper for 2, and then in many states, I was on several media platforms on Saturday. In many states, the agents of Osifo were not even anywhere to be found. I don't think you even have agents across the 8,809 political world where the election was set to happen. And yesterday, the guy that stood as his agent was just conceding to everything that Senator Apayosanyu was saying, cross-talking with him, and are you okay? Do you have any issue? No issue? Fine. Everything was just stage managed, but I wish APC well in their general elections.
Yes. And, you know, some of your submissions or assertions, if you like, about the 10.9 million votes cannot be ignored. I'm just doing a mathematical calculation, or if you like, division here, and I'm saying 11 million divided by 37 will give you 297,000 plus. So that's assuming that there were 97,000 plus people coming out in each state and the FCT, and that number is more than what, you know, some winners in governorship election turn out in terms of, you know, total votes cast that amount to them getting victory in the election. So is that the case in this particular election? But we'll leave that to, you know, continuous projections and reasonings online as the conversation continues. But what are your you know, projections about what would happen in the case of the ADC presidential primary that will be taking place soon, against the backdrop of what we've seen from another group of the ADC, where they have returned Mr. Dumebi Kachiku as their presidential candidate? You know, amid the other litigation matters, you know, shaping the leadership challenge of that political party.
Bukola, the reality that stares us in the face is that there seems not to be any major opposition in Nigeria any longer. What ADC is doing is what is called MAD. I don't want to say they are mad, but the MAD here is mutually assured destruction. And in that kind of crabism, where each of the factions are, you know, trying to pull each other down, PAD syndrome, pull him down, pull her down, if it's not my way, it's highway. They cannot make any meaningful impact because this whole thing will go back to the court and the thing will start dragging. Even if INEC agrees with Justice Muhammad Umar's judgment or last week and decided to allow for more registration of members and even extend the time for party primaries. This crisis in ADC is not about to go. anytime soon, unless they are able to find a creative way of resolving this out of court. And this is why I will advise them to go perhaps to INEC to avail themselves of the alternative dispute resolution mechanism that is available to them. Because by the time you have two factions nominating as candidates, well, INEC will most likely take the one that it deems is the one that the court has endorsed. But we should not continue to have democracy by court order, which is why I think, in the opinion of some people, they put in that section 83 sub 5, which has now said that internal affairs of political parties are not justiciable and mean that you cannot litigate on internal affairs of political party. And this, from what Justice Joyce Abdulmalik said about 2 weeks ago, this issue of nomination may actually fall within the internal affairs of political parties, which is why even those who are thinking of leaving APC to go and join other parties should be wary, because now party primary is underway. You go join a party today, you are giving waivers. Some people may have even bought forms and all of that. So at the end of the day, you are most likely going to face a lot of either litigation or, internal wranglings, and this may even lead to party members engaging in anti-party, which is, if they cannot even get justice at the court, maybe because of that section 83 sub 5, and because of Supreme Court decision that issue of internal affairs of political parties is not something that the court should entertain, they may not leave the party, though they will work against the party. And that brings us to the proverb, Yoruba proverb, that while the leper may not be able to milk a cow, it can actually spill the milk. And that's the role some of these people are going to be playing. So I think it is in the enlightened best interest of ADC leadership to try and call different factions together and find an amicable resolution. Already, ADC is a wounded, weakened, and as you say, crippled party as it were, especially after that May 3rd exit of Kwankwaso and Peter Obi, because they formed the bulk of people who actually are the soul and heartbeat of ADC were moved out of that. And you saw what happened by Peter Obi and Rabi Kwankwaso left on the 3rd, Sunday, May 3rd. By 5th, about 18 House of Reps members left. And 17 out of those 18 House of Reps members that left defected from ADC to NDC. And so, how many elected serving members are in ADC as of today? So, in fact, let me borrow what Senator Gosu Akpabio said after some ADC senators also left, I think the day after the House of Reps drama. He said it's like ADC is technically dead. I can't with my full chest say it's dead, but with this kind of factionalization, where they are now going to be presenting two candidates, it will be dangerous for them to pose a serious threat to the ruling party. The same thing is playing out in SDP. SDP also has two candidates, presidential candidates. As of last week, there is Adebayo, and then there's one Akim, or is it Kazim? That's a different faction, the Gaban faction and another faction.
So, Mr. Ojo, let's look at perhaps the challenges all the parties, because we need to point out where all the parties are weak so that they will know how they can strengthen. So I'm going to list maybe a few of the parties that comes to mind. APC, given what has played out with all the primaries from the national to the state assembly to the governorship and all of that, what should they be looking out for as what may affect them? ADC, we already know, but maybe you can reinforce it. NDC itself, I think now we have PRP somewhere in the mix. I think maybe these four. Permit me, if I remember others. PDP, I've forgotten PDP. My apology, PDP.
PDP is suffering from the same malaise as ADC, as well as even SDP. So there are also two factions of PDP that is selling for, the Kabru Turaki faction and then the Mohammed, whatever it is, the surname, the faction loyal to Wike is also selling.
Abdurrahman.
The same thing is happening, Mohammed Abdurrahman. The same thing in Labour Party. Remember that last week, the faction loyal to Governor Oti is warning the Julius Abure faction not to be selling for. We learned that Abure's faction is giving out free nomination to people. This has greatly weakened the opposition. NDC is about the only party that can pose a serious threat to the APC in 2027 as of today. That is my reading. But for APC, it should be wary of the enemy within. There are many who lost out in the just concluded primaries, who are bitter, who may not be able to leave the party, but they may engage in anti-party activities. Because, you know, these people paid huge sums of money. Imagine, you pay 100 million, you pay 50 million for governorship, and then you are disqualified under one rules, using one excuse or the other. People pay 20 million for senatorial election. Midway into that election, you hear that your name you have been disqualified. Look at the old wishy-washy. There was a list that was released by Felix Walker that contained the names of Primaries. Later that same evening, when the primary was holding, they now say, oh, Primaries names have been removed. We don't know. A lot is happening in Nasarawa, in Taraba, in Kwara. They have to do a lot of fence mending. And I'm glad Professor Naitawe Iwada has said that they will embark on serious reconciliation, because a lot of people, heavyweights in APC today, are bruised, they are bitter, they are not happy with the turn of events, particularly for those who moved from the opposition to the ruling party in anticipation that they were going to have it easy getting the party ticket. But it is the norm every 4 years for any ruling party. Even for the 16 years of PDP, we saw similar scenario playing out. People are usually bitter, they are unhappy, they are threatening fire and brimstone after every primary because they felt they were unjustifiably screamed out. But by and large, this is a game over for the opposition unless they are able to pull their hands together, maybe rally behind NDC, because it will seem like I think PRP is not having any internal issue, AGA is not having any internal issue, APM is not having any internal issue, ZLP is not having internal issue. But at least today, if they can unite under one umbrella and give very serious support to whoever emerges under NDC, maybe they can pose a serious threat to President Bola Tinubu, who we knew way back in May 2025 is actually the anointed candidate of APC. So what happened yesterday, like I said, was just a carnival of sorts, a coronation. It was already predetermined more than a year ago that Tinubu will be the presidential candidate for APC.
But Mr. Ojo, even if the All Progressives Congress initiates a reconciliation panel, as it has promised to do, to address some of the outstanding concerns that have come through from this primary, and the disgruntled still decide to head to court based on Section 88 sub 5, I believe, to seek redress, will anything significantly change? Because we have seen, the variations of the court verdicts to similar issues based on, the political parties that have brought it forward. In the case of Dagogo Fubara, for instance, his case was dismissed, even though it was based on wrongful nomination. So are you optimistic that the courts can grant accelerated hearing? And even if they did, will justice really come, based on the pattern of verdicts that we have seen so far?
Unfortunately, our court system is not predictable anymore. One can say with any certainty that if similar facts are presented, that judges will rule or give judgments in a like manner. So I will leave that to the board. But you see, what I've also believed, what I've also seen in this field for over 26 years, I've been involved in electoral assistance and technical support and training, research, advocacy. What I've seen is that courts cannot impose justice. It has to be among the aggrieved. We have seen Supreme Court decisions being ignored. Look at the case of Labour Party. Supreme Court has given a decision. Look at the case of which other parties? Several parties that the Supreme Court will give a decision, and yet they will be interpreting it one way or the other. Oh, this is not what the Supreme Court said, this is what the Supreme Court said. So if the final court in the land has given a judgment and you are still not satisfied, where else do you want to go and appeal? So I think the political class amongst themselves must do everything to protect this democracy and not allow it to fall. Because unless they behave themselves and allow for, amicable resolution of their internal conflict or even inter-party conflict, they may endanger this democracy, and we should not hope for that, because we have seen what has happened in some of the Saharan states like Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. We don't want that in Nigeria. So the Nigerian political class must rise above pettiness and internal wranglings and subject themselves to alternative dispute resolution. Let the party leaders come in, because as you may know, going through the court system can be very tedious, can be very time wasting. The courts are not there sitting to wait for political matters to be brought before them. Courts have a lot of civil cases, criminal cases that are being disrupted by the political class. Every matter they file is disrupting the dockets of their lordship, because no judge is looking for cases. They are not paid on the number of cases they are able to entertain every month. They pay their salaries are paid irrespective of how many cases or how many sittings they have in a month. But the political class, out of their inability to behave themselves, are the ones that are congesting the court system, which is part of the reason why that Section 83, subsection 5 may have been inserted, to protect the integrity of the court and make sure that people explore the internal conflict resolution mechanism of their respective political parties rather than rushing to the court. We have seen that, I learned in ADC, they have about 13 cases in the court. 13 cases, the one from Jumebi Kajuku, the one from Balagombe, and several others that you don't even get to know until when the judgment is given. This cannot be healthy for our democracy. They should please save us this eating up of the policy, behave themselves, and if they are dissatisfied with one party, they have every right to move to another party. We have 22 registered parties in Nigeria, and it is people that make the party. Today, APM has a governor in his fold. Today, Accord Party has a governor in his fold. It's as a result of internal rankings in another party that has made these people to go and seek shelter in another platform. So, PRP is there, Zani Labour Party is there, even the newly registered parties, there are about 3 of them that are newly registered that you can go and join without much hassle. So, people should just try and help us not to eat up the politics unnecessarily.
Mr. Ojo, let's say early in the day, not really. There's a lot coming up. So we're looking at what is going to play out in the coming days as far as the politics is concerned. Whether or not INEC will respond, well, INEC will definitely respond. They really don't have a choice. So they will know what we're dealing with in terms of primaries and submission of names with political parties, given the judgment that came through last weekend. Mr. Ojo, thank you for coming on the program. Jide Ojo is a public affairs and political affairs analyst. He's been on ground for decades when it comes to Nigeria's election. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Do have a joyful week.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue that trajectory of examining what has played out at the weekend. Stay with us.
Welcome back, and so let's get to some of the things that you have been talking about online and of course in the mainstream newspapers. And we'll begin with security. It's a mixed bag, really. First of all, this is cheery. Let's start with the good one. As troops say that they have rescued 92 kidnapped victims from Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists along the Burate Kamuya Road in Biu local government area of Borno State. And all 92 kidnapped victims comprise 52 male, 33 female, and 7 children, along with 8 vehicles that were successfully recovered. But it's not the same story of respite coming for residents of Kwara State. Over the weekend, there were reports that bandits attacked a prayer ground, killed 3 and abducted 15, and this occurred at the Orioke Ajayi prayer ground in the outskirts of Ikiro village in Ekiti local government area of the state. Sadly, 3 worshippers were killed while 15 others were abducted, and we're waiting for the Kwara State Police Command to confirm this attack. And of course, we're going to be trailing this particular story in the coming days. So that's as far as security is concerned from Borno and Kwara. Borno, where we have seen the rescue of 92 kidnapped victims in Biu local government area of the state. Jeffrey, you have the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the issue of security it's always heartbreaking. But when we record success, it's always very cheery as far as this is concerned. But my trouble, Kola, is always the fact that the ease of mass abduction, I'm not going to stop saying it, the ease with which these guys can abduct certain number of persons, 20 people, 30, 50, 100, and the record number, I think, in Papri, which we always reference, about 300 persons, and successfully is very disturbing. It's extremely concerning. It just speaks to whether or not the state is utilizing its strength as the monopoly, the one with the monopoly of violence. But we hope we can get out of this, because it is the people in the rural areas, the very defenseless, voiceless people, regular Nigerians who are victims of these things most of the time. In fact, almost 96, 95% of the time. There are very few times you have high-profile persons. Whether that is why perhaps they are not understanding or appreciating or, empathizing, that should be the right word, with the people. But when people are caught who are perpetrating this evil, especially the ideological terrorists, the Nigerian army and the military knows exactly what to do. They know exactly what to do. So when they arrest, we appreciate. When they neutralize, we appreciate. When they rescue, we also do appreciate. We want to come to a time, Bukola, where we can reference now and say, do you remember when it used to be an everyday phenomenon of some form of kidnap, abduction, killing, or the other? But we're not there yet. We're still lost in this painful situation. And I don't think the government is doing enough. No. The military are trying their best. The government's not doing enough.
Certainly not.
And when I hear the government complaining about, we know who is responsible, subsidy cabal, it just gets me pissed off. We're tired of you knowing who is responsible. Just get the job done. Whether you're the president or your governor or whatever it is, get the job done.
We must speak to the general sense of fear and lack of safety, not just in Nigeria's north now, but everywhere. I wonder if, you caught up with some of the reports. Some of them we need to verify from Nigeria's southwest, where children are seen, running, and some of them have been dispelled, as, a concern that was not founded on true insecurity. But many more are coming through of children running, trying to escape bandits. I saw another over the weekend, security operatives ferrying some children to safety, but because of the number of children that were trying to get away from a scary situation, those security operatives could not, get all of them into that particular open air van. And so in the southwest as well, there's an increasing sense of general lack of safety. And, politicking must also be combined with governance. It appears as if the more important areas of governance, the delivery of the dividends of democracy, the simplest being security of life and property, is eluding Nigerians right now. And so what conversations are being had behind the scene? Is the Security Council meeting going to be convened anytime soon to address this matter of insecurity beyond, positioning that insecurity is being sponsored, to unsettle the administration and stop the president from campaigning? People are being killed. The Oyo teachers and residents of Orire local government are still in captivity, even as we speak. It's sad that, in this time, we've seen a mother clutching her son who was murdered. We've seen the video of a teacher slaughtered, posted on live television. These are times when, the elected should be alarmed at what is happening across Nigeria. And so we reiterate that there's a general sense of insecurity, not just in Nigeria's north now, but everywhere. Nigerians are saying nobody is safe.
We hope we can get out of this water, these very difficult waters, as we do our politics and politicking. Well, it's part of the system, it's part of the polity, but more importantly, let's have the people safe. I remember, Bukola, when the president visited Pres'l, what I call the flyby visit, not a condolence visit in my view, but he made promises. And when he told the lady that, look, this is not going to happen again, in my head I was like, no, president, don't say that. You cannot assure that. And as though I knew what was going to happen, about 24 hours later, I think in Riyom local government, they killed somebody, and later we also had another incident. So the Nigerian state has not done well in protecting our citizens the way it should. There are efforts, but not enough. Let's bring in another of our colleague, Pius Angbo, joins us from Makurdi, the Benue State capital. There's going to be a lot of political and governance talk today on the program, so follow us on the program. Mr. Angbo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Welcome to Benue.
Yes, Benue is an interesting state. What comes to mind is Governor Hyacinth Alia and George Akume. Let's begin with that. Have they been able to sheath their sword? We've been seeing videos,
Well, party primaries have come and gone. Candidates have emerged. But contrary to the outcome of the peace meeting that the SGF had with the governor a few weeks back, that states that the SGF said the president's directive was that all National Assembly and State Assembly members should be returned should be given first refusal and be returned automatic members, while the governor gets the support of all the party stakeholders. You recall that the governor had said while responding to that question that it was a prayer made by the SGF to the APC in Benue State, and that such was only available for the National Working Committee to approve. This followed through and went to the elections. Of the House of Representative members, currently 11 of them, is only 2 that got tickets to return. Okay, 3 that got tickets to return. 4 now, yeah, that got ticket to return back to the National Assembly. Only the wife of the SGF, who is from the camp of the SGF, made that list. The rest are those who are with the governor that got the re-election back to the National Assembly in the primaries. And then the assembly members, less than 10 of them are the ones who returned. Majority of those coming back are also new aspirant candidates now that you have. But the APC seem to have handled everything well. When we spoke with the SGF, he said that the focus of the party is to unite, work for the president and the structure of the party to be in one piece, that they do not want faction going to the 2027 election. And I think that whatever be the case, the SGF and the governor have ironed that out. Candidates have emerged, lists have been sent to Abuja. We await for the outcome of that. So on the front here in APC, there isn't any issue about party crisis there anymore, because it's the next phase of the composition we'll be looking at.
So let's also get to the other political parties in Benue, the PDP to be precise. We saw the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice emerge victorious as the candidate of the PDP. Talk to us about that process and which PDP group is he representing?
Okay, to talk about the emergence of former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Mr. Kase Michael Aondaka, who is the PDP governorship candidate. Before now, Mr. Kase Aondaka was in APC under the group loyal to the SGF. And when the former governor, Samuel Otom, left office, there was this discussion about strategic partnership between the PDP led by Governor Samuel Otom, former Governor Samuel Otom, which is loyal and led by FCT Minister Mr. Nyesom Wike, and the SGF group of the APC, that they were going to collaborate to work together ahead of 2027 elections. And so the Attorney General, former Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Mr. Aondaka, was fraternizing between the SGF APC and the Otom-led PDP. And it became obviously clear that he was the candidate to push. So he migrated from the APC into the PDP mainstream before its primaries began. And they had consensus issues discussed among themselves, because there were about 8 governorship aspirants in PDP then. But as at yesterday, which was the roundup of all the nominations in the PDP in Benue, Mr. Aondaka was unanimously returned and affirmed as the PDP governorship candidate, who will be standing in the 2027 general election against Governor Hyacinth Alia. Recall that Governor Hyacinth Alia had kicked out the PDP from Government House in 2023 over the political situations we had then. So these are the 2 great men going to the elections in Benue. But I can tell you, the PDP in Benue State is the one.
Yeah, just a moment, because of time. Let's bring in Charles Operum from Port Harcourt. Always an interesting state when it comes to Nigerian politics. Intriguing. Charles, good morning and welcome to the program. Walk us through how things played out in Rivers State. We've seen the governor, despite not getting the ticket of the party, has been really involved, at least from the video we've seen, involved in as a collation officer, went all the way to Abuja. What are the nuances politically happening? But of more interest, again, is what's playing out within the ADC. Is there a faction in the ADC as well? Because I know that a gentleman, P. Thompson, I think that's his name, emerged as a candidate. And I also understand that there's also Farad Agogo, who is also interested in being governor. Walk us through that as well.
You know, it's very interesting because the ADC had just concluded their primary election for the governorship. That was covered by my colleague Debbie, but of course, we follow up as well. And yes, the former secretary to the Rivers State government, Mr. P. Thompson, emerged as candidates, as announced by members of the National Working Committee election monitoring team that were sent down to Rivers State, to conduct that particular election. So, and the next thing we saw was, we saw Farad Agogo's people also come out to say, maybe it looked like they were trying to make their voices heard, because he also had indicated interest in becoming the governorship candidate of the ADC. Recall that yesterday, another faction of the ADC held a parallel convention, upstairs right there in Abuja, led by Dumebi Kachiku. So I don't know if that is trickling down here, but so far so good. We've not had a faction come out here in Rivers State to say we are now, the ADC leadership at the State Executive Committee as of this moment. So that is that from the ADC. The ADC appear to be, stable. They appear to have their act in order as of this moment. So what? Of course, you saw, you did mention the collation of the presidential primary as put together by the chief collation officer in the state, His Excellency Governor Siminalayi Fubara. He came, delivered the results, announced the winner, and declared the president the winner. But something interesting happened that day. Apart from the governor, there were some other heavyweights in the building, the likes of Senator Magnus Abe, the likes of Chief Victor Giadom. Of course, the governor was also flanked by Tony Okocha, the chairman of the party here in Rivers State. And there were a lot of local government chairmen. Most of them we know are loyal to the FCT minister. Now, when the governor came in, of course, he is the governor. You have to respect him, regardless of whatever political disagreements you may be having with him. But as the governor was leaving the hall, as he was just leaving, he hadn't even gotten into his vehicle when the other people started singing and chanting. Rivers State is very good with passing political messaging through songs, and then you started hearing them singing, what's the song again? They singing and chanting, Wiki de Come, songs, as though they were mocking the governor, but he just got into his vehicle and left. So if you watch the videos, you'll see the likes of Honorable Chidi Lloyd leading their supporters, chanting and singing and all that. So yeah, that happened within the past 72 hours or thereabouts.
Interesting development there. So, Charles, can we say that this vote tally of 280,000 plus that went to the president in the presidential primary came through a collection of votes of the APC and the Rainbow Coalition of, Mr. Wike in Rivers State?
Well, the Rainbow Coalition is believed or supposed to be an alliance across political divides. So it's supposed to be an alliance between People's Democratic Party, loyal to the FCT minister, and the All Progressives Congress, loyal to the FCT minister as well. Okay? Now, but as I understand, those who are supposed to vote in the APC primaries are card-carrying members of the All Progressives Congress, as is stipulated by their constitution. And every single primary election I've monitored, from the Assembly to the House of Reps to the Senatorial, to the governorship, and now to the presidential, they always announce and say, oh, please waive your membership cards. And you see them, they waive their membership cards, and then they have to authenticate. In some cases, the people actually, the voters, go to the table and you say your name, they look for your name, and then they tick. But in the case of, in one of the other cases in Obiapo, they were just announcing, so and so, present. So I was watching to see who was actually answering present. It seems like every single name that was called, you hear 4 or 5 voices shout present. So after that, I did speak to one of the leaders of the ward there in Oginiba, and he said, this is a Rainbow Coalition. I'm in PDP, but we have come out to support APC. When it's our own time, they too will come out to support us. That was exactly what happened. And yesterday, during the PDP governorship primary election, when I was speaking with Mr. Sam Sonny Ejeku, who is now the candidate of the PDP in Rivers State, as he was there talking to us, Buki, behind him, the drummers were drumming and singing, okay, now, oh no, basically talking about OK Chinda, who is from the APC, right there where the PDP is doing their own primary election. And I was asking him, I said, sir, they are singing for another candidate who is supposed to be your rival in this election. He said, oh, don't worry, we are a Rainbow Coalition. When the time comes, we'll meet and decide who is going to go and who is going to step down for each other. And it's a summary of what is actually playing out here in Rivers State, Bookie.
I was wondering, I deliberately asked that question because of the positioning of the Rainbow Coalition. And of course, let's not forget that Mr. Okechinda used to be the minority leader, so a lot of questions around the legality of the process. I wonder if it's a redefinition of, our political culture this time around in Rivers State. But Charles, we'll bring you back again, to view the outcome of this process. Charles Operum is our correspondent in Rivers State. Thank you very much, Charles. And also Pius Angbo, our correspondent in Benue State. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, Vicky.
Now, there's more political talk. Let's head to our Abuja studio now, where ADC chieftain and now presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Dumebi Kachiku, joins us now on the program. Mr. Kachiku, thank you so much for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
And so news has come through in the last few hours that you have emerged the presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress. out. Of course, the report is that it's the group loyal to you, because we've checked the INEC website, and the David Mark-led group still stands recognized as the official members of the party that INEC is dealing with. So help us situate your candidacy within the context of that and the other litigation issues, you know, around the African Democratic Congress.
A good question. I think a mistake a lot of the media journalists are making when they check the INEC website, and that what they see there is the David Mark-led group. I think what you should do is actually look deeper. If you go to the INEC website and check all the states and all the different state chapters and see who the chairmen are in those state chapters, those are the chairmen who are with me, and those are the chairmen who conducted a convention. We held our congresses last week, and those people we merged during our congresses for the new state chairman. INEC has uploaded them as the valid state chairman of the party, because the court order that came about 2-3 weeks ago was very, very clear that the party is rightly vested in the state chairman. The court order also made clear that only the state chairman could conduct congresses and a convention, which is what we did yesterday. INEC, in having David Mark and Co. on their portal, is just because of the other case that is going on concerning the Nafiu Bala faction and David Mark faction. And because INEC had made the mistake ab initio to say, because of the court order, they removed them. So when there was a court order that says you don't have to do that, they then put them there. But there's a court order that makes clear that the state chairman should conduct congresses, which is what they've done. They should conduct a convention, which is what they've done. In the event that after the convention that we've conducted, because they heeded to our congresses and they uploaded those we emerged. So after this convention, if INEC does not then upload those who we emerged on their portal, then we will go to court and get the INEC chairman charged for contempt of court. It's very simple.
Mr. Kachiku, so that will lead the people right. What did the court expressly say the chairman should conduct congresses, or the court recognize their leadership until the expiration of their tenure, given what was an agreement as far as this is concerned, so that we lead the people right? Because I know that you had filed a suit that was dismissed. That was the initial one. And then those gentlemen, I think about 7 of them out of 36, correct me if I'm wrong, had approached the courts that their tenure had not expired, and they made a case before the court. The court agreed with them, and then they were reinstated. But the argument is to the fact that when was their tenure supposed to elapse? And if I understand that judgment of what I read, is to the fact that until a valid convention is organized in that nature. So what exactly did the court say? So we don't say what the court did not say.
The court clearly stated that only the state chairman could conduct congresses, and that only the state chairman could also conduct a convention. That's the order of the court. It's very, very clear. And I'm going to forward you guys that order.
Please forward it to us, because there's nowhere in law that I know that state chairman will conduct primaries. It's a NEC decision, Mr. Kachiku. It's a NEC decision.
As we speak, I have just sent the court order to you guys as we speak. So
okay, that, I'm sure my producer will get it to us.
We are all very clear. The order of the court is very clear. It's about the constitution of our party, and that is what the court relied on to make that order. In our party's constitution, it's the state chapters that have the right to conduct those congresses, and not the national.
Which provision of your party constitution? My apologies, so that we can reference all of this, please. Which provision? Because this is strange to me. So I want to learn from you, from your party. Which provision of your party constitution says that it is national state chairman, not NEC, that we're used to, that will put together, or in NWC? So give me the provision so that I can check it and confirm with the people here.
Okay, I think I should throw this back at you. And please give me the provision in my party's constitution that says that is the David Mark led NEC that should conduct congresses.
That is not my question. I said...
Can I ask you...
No, that's...
No,
Mr. Akachukwu, just hold on. That's not my question. I'm saying that we're used to NWC, NEC agreeing to having a convention. So if this is in your party's constitution, refer me to the provision in your party constitution so that I can read it out to the people. That's what I said. I'm not contending with you.
Okay, no, so because I was just following your report before I came on, and you were speaking about congresses and primaries that were being held across the states, and you could see that it was the state chapters that were conducting those primaries and congresses, and not the national. And so any party person understands that that there's a national and there's a state chapter. Those state chapters are not figureheads. They're recognized by the Constitution and they have roles to play. That is why every state chapter has an organizing secretary, and the job of the organizing secretary is to conduct
Mr. Akachukwu, my apologies. I'm talking about national convention. I'm very intentional with my question. Cite me to the provision in your constitution that says it is state chairman that will organize a national convention. That's my question.
Okay, I don't know the specific article in our constitution. I can't recall it offhand. But if you ask about the court judgment, I forwarded it to you. But I also want to read read that court judgment for you. Okay. One of the declarations is a declaration that the purported appointment of the Congress committee members of the body described as the Ketika International Working Committee or any variant thereof, not being the state executive committee constituted in accordance with the first defendant's constitution, is unconstitutional, null, and void. An order nullifying the appointment of the Congress committee members for the first defendant by the body described as the Ketika International Ketika Working Committee. An order restraining the 7 defendant INEC from recognizing or attending the Congress or any event organized by the body described as Ketika International Ketika Working Committee, purportedly appointed for the first defendant. An order restraining the 7 defendants, its officers, agents, privies, assigned, successors in title, representatives, and all persons claiming true or under it from acknowledging, accepting, recognizing, giving effect to, or in any manner whatsoever validating the word local government and word Congress of the defendant, except that organized and conducted by the first to 7.
Are you reading to us?
In other words, it means that. In other words, this means that everything you see going on in state chapters, like what you refer to as the Guba primaries in River State or the different states and every single thing, is null and void in the face of the law. You understand?
So are you reading to us the outcome? Are you reading to us the outcome of the court verdict affirming your state chairman as the chairman of the ADC? That's what you're reading to us,
yes,
sir?
Not only yes, which is what I've sent to you guys. I'm also reading the declarations, the orders made by the judge concerning congresses, concerning convention. That's what I'm reading to you guys, so that we are all clear about what is playing out in the ADC.
All right.
So that you all understand why INEC had no choice but to upload our congresses that have been conducted so far. That's why I said that if you want to look beyond...
Okay, but Mr. Kachiko, are you also aware of the, I believe, Court of Appeal judgment setting aside the court judgment that led to the status quo antebellum crisis, which in turn led INEC to now recognize the David Mark group temporarily, pending when the case is determined at the Supreme Court level? I'm asking this to ask why you are not waiting for the determination of that before nullifying before setting aside the David Mark-led group, before nullifying their leadership. Because that's, besides adopting you as a presidential candidate yesterday, that's what your group also did.
I think you're missing the point. There are 2 different court cases here. One court case is the court case of Nafiu Bala saying that Ralph Nwosu couldn't have handed over the party to the Mark-led group, and he challenged that and is in court with the Mark-led group on that issue. Our court case is a court case that simply states, we have 2 court cases. One court case is a case that says Ralph Nwosu was never the chairman of the party at the time he tried to hand over the party to these people. The second court case is a case that challenged the powers of these people to conduct a convention and conduct congresses on behalf of the party. And that is the judgment I've read to you from on that court case, where the judge held that only the state chairmen of the party who are validly recognized could conduct congresses and convention on behalf of the party. As we speak today, that judgment has not been overturned. They tried to set it aside. The Court of Appeal, that case is holding sometime this week to hear the matter. The court did not agree to set aside the judgment. They said they're going to hear the merits of the matter, and that's ongoing. So as we speak, INEC had no choice but to recognize the congresses that we have held and uphold our state chairmen. So if you check the INEC portal across the states, you'll see that all the state chairmen you saw yesterday are the ones who are on the INEC portal. And after our convention now, like I said, we then convey what emerged from our convention to INEC. And INEC, if INEC does not then recognize it also, then INEC will be in contempt of court and will hold them as such.
So I'm trying to look through this court ruling very quickly. Did this court ruling in any way nullify the David Mark-led leadership of the ADC? Did it order that they stop parading themselves as national executives of the party?
Okay, now let me make this clear to you. David Mark-led leadership is a body just in the eyes of the media. As far as the ADC is concerned as a party, we don't know the David Mark-led leadership. You understand? So I think it's important you guys inform the public accordingly. People came and just said that they are the ADC and they're taking over the ADC. It's just like me coming today and saying I own Channel Television. And even though Arise, AIT, and all the other media stations report that I own Channel Television, doesn't mean that I own Channel Television. If I go to court and claim that I own Channel Television, and the court is hearing the matter, adjudicating on the matter, and it goes all the way to Supreme Court back and forth, does it mean I own Channel Television because we're in court? And the court has said maintain status quo, antebellum, whatever it is. Does it mean I own Channel Television? Absolutely not. And you guys keep on misinforming the public when you guys don't understand the nuances of the law or what's going on.
Mr. Kachiko,
I want to read Order 9.
Just hold on. So there's nobody misinforming anybody. There's nobody.
Yes, the questions.
You're also mixing things up. Just hold on, Mr. Kachiko, hold on, so that we're clear. They went to court. There was an incident between Nafiu Gombe and, of course, David Mark. And that issue has to do with leadership. What you're doing is even prejudice, because that's the case. The substantive issue of originating summon is still in court. It's not been determined. In fact, it's been adjourned Senate diet because of the gentleman wanted a change in the judge. There was injunctive relief.
You are saying something totally
No. I am trying to put, because the way you're going, you may mislead the public. So let me put it correctly. You're saying just hold on. Just hold on, sir. Just hold on, sir. You are the one saying the media.
If you understand what I'm saying.
No, hold on, Mr.
If you understand what I'm saying, then you won't come with this counter.
If you understand what I'm saying, you are saying that we are the ones recognizing. No, even INEC recognizes David Mark. That's what I wanted to put to you. That INEC recognizes David Mark Group by their own portal. That case, an interlocutory appeal based on injunctive order and non-injunctive, I went all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court referred the case back to the trial court, say, go and show cause why those injunctive relief should not be sought, should not be granted. As a matter of fact, let this case be faster, accelerated hearing. So to an extent, Nafiu Gombe and David Mark are in court, and the court will decide which is the leadership. That does not invalidate what has played out in the court as far as those 7 gentlemen who went to court saying, these people cannot come and run congresses because we're supposed to be the ones who run congresses for ourselves. That's what actually that judgment is, about running Congress, until a valid Congress is held and a valid national convention is held. Those were the language of the court.
Can you read out the language of the court so it's clear so that our listeners know and they are not misinformed? The 9th order is very clear. Let me read the 9th order for you so we're clear on this. The 9th order says, an order of perpetual injunction restraining the first to 6 defendants, their agents, privies, or assigns, successors in title, representatives, and all persons claiming through under them from organizing state congress or any congress or convoke national convention for the first defendant.
And indeed, Mr. Kachiku, that doesn't state that the first to 6 defendants have been told not to, well, the first now, maybe being the ADC group, from parading themselves as officers of the party. I've been looking through the orders, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing that says so. And that's why I'm asking you, is there anything in this order, is there anything in this order that says that the David Mark group should stop parading themselves as officials of the party? Because if it doesn't, then what you are doing, your group is doing, may be sub judice, because the leadership issues have not been resolved.
Well, I think, like, I don't think you and I are reading the same order. If an order clearly tells them to stop parading themselves or not appoint people to run, to conduct congresses on behalf of the state chairman, on behalf of the party, what does that order imply?
Stop conducting congresses is different from stop parading yourselves as officers of the party right now.
Well, the issue, there are 2 court cases ongoing. There's, like we just said, there's a Nafi Bala case that is ongoing, and there's this case that's ongoing. The state chairman went and challenged INEC and these people concerning the affairs of the party, and the judgment is very clear. It stopped them from arrogating themselves onto themselves powers to conduct the affairs of the party, such as congresses or convention. And I also said, which is something I've noticed, I've said it 3 times now, and you guys kept quiet about it. I said, you mentioned that these gentlemen are the ones that you see on the INEC portal, but I also said to you, but if you check throughout the INEC portal and all the state chapters of the party, that these same state chairmen are the people you will find there. I also said to you that the congresses we have held last week, that INEC was, they conducted the congress and they have uploaded the results of our state, of the congresses. You've not said anything. So when you are seeing the signs showing clearly that INEC recognizes the court order and is obeying the court order, you ignore that and you keep on pushing to me.
But Mr. Kachiku, if INEC was recognizing the order 100%, it would recognize Abdul Kadir Bashir, who's your new national chairman of your group, as the national chairman of the ADC. But the convention just happened
the convention just happened a few hours ago.
And then why not wait for the process? Why not wait for the processes to run through before the adoption of you as the presidential candidate and before the dissolution of the David Mark-led group?
Okay, let me ask you what might appear to be a stupid question. I said earlier, if I came and paraded myself as the owner of Channels Television and we are now in court, do you shut down INEC? Do you shut down Channels Television and don't come to work until the case runs through its course in court? There you go.
Oh, is that a question? Okay.
They're not the same, Mr. Kachiku.
They're exactly the same thing. Come on, don't say they're not the same. I said people came into our party and said that they own the party and they're the leadership of the party, and they are being challenged in court, and the court process is taking its course. So you are saying to me because the court process is taking.
Mr. Kachiku, I think the point.
Hang on.
Just hold on. You've been talking because of time. You made your point. Just hold on.
Can I land and make my point?
Okay, 10 seconds so that I can bring my next question, so that we have the time to engage you more.
Sure. So I said so. The same thing has happened here. People are claiming to be the leaders of the party is being challenged in court. And the same thing I'm saying, if I claim to be owner of Channels and it's being challenged in court, does it mean that Channels will not operate anymore because of the court case? Of course not. So we know how the courts work, and it does not stop life from going on. It's that simple.
So, Mr. Kachuku, I think the point you may be missing, and let's make the point before I ask you my next question, is the judgment that supported those gentlemen who went to court is a valid judgment. The judgment that went all the way to the Supreme Court is also a valid judgment. And so, let's be clear on that. Because what you're saying is
what does the Supreme Court judgment say? So that I keep on saying this. We don't want to misinform the public. The Supreme Court judgment says go to the lower court and dispatch that case in the lower court. And the lower court has not made any order. And so that case is in the lower court. So when you are speaking, you make it appear that a case in lower court has been adjudicated and there's an order.
That's what I'm saying. No. You're missing the point. I'm saying they have to go and show cause. The substantive issue has not even been heard. I'm saying that there is a case in court that has to do with leadership. There is also a judgment that you're relying on. That is also from a court that is also valid. That is why we have all this conundrum within your party. So I wanted to put the record straight so that everybody understands.
So what is clear to all is that there's a case in court and that has not been heard. But the case in court that has been heard and there's a judgment. And that is the only subsisting judgment. And that is what everyone has got to rely on right now. And that is what
all right, let's move on. Let's move on to, I'm trying to be careful not to jump into issues that are before the court. But we needed to pause it so that everybody who has watched has seen that there are conundrum of, cases, judgment, cases to be heard and all of that, so that it's clear where everybody stands. But talk to us about why the speed with which your convention that your group organized is saying that you're now the sole candidate of the party.
So the question is, why the speed?
Yes.
I don't understand. What's the speed there? The David Mark-led faction of the party, are they not organizing a convention today? Are they not having their primaries today? What's the difference? 24 hours. What do you mean by speed? I don't get your question.
So yours was a primaries that was organized. Is that what I'm saying? Is that what you're saying? I just want to be clear on what played out yesterday. Yes.
For the presidential primaries and convention go hand in hand, and that is what happened yesterday.
Okay, so, you held a convention yesterday and a presidential primaries yesterday. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. What more did you? Okay, you used the consensus method. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear on that, Bukola.
So you say it's your state chairmen that are recognized and everyone is running with this judgment. Am I correct, borrowing your words?
That's correct, yes.
But what about the other 7 state chairmen that abstained and said they were not part of the Congress?
The 7 state chairmen who abstained from the Congress, what that means is that where congresses were held and they did not hold congresses in their states, it means that their tenure is now over and it means that their seats are vacant.
So then that means that I'm not quite sure whether their seats are vacant, whether their tenure has expired. I'll have to check that. But that means that not everyone is then running with your own convention, your new convention, and your adoption as the presidential candidate of the party, or the adoption of Abdulkadir Bashir as national chairman of the party. It means that that division still subsists.
As you have always reported, there's a division within our party. But when you say you have 7 people out of 37 absent, that means we have a clear majority who are in support of our actions and what's going on in the party.
Okay. It's an ongoing conversation, and we'll leave. Well, I think the David Mark group, they are going to be holding their convention today. No, their primaries, not convention. So we'll see how that plays out. And I think by the previous timetable, May the 30th, we're going to see who INEC is going to recognize, and we can have a clear-cut conversation. But now everybody's trying to jostle. But we wish your party the very best, and as much as possible, we hope that we can have a formidable opposition to the ruling party from all corners as much as possible, because democracy survives and thrives on opposition. But Mr. Akuchukwu, we're going to definitely have you on the show when everything is settled. We'll be able to know what we're dealing with, and then no alternative conversations we'll have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Dumegu Kachuko has just been produced as the sole candidate of the ADC from the group loyal to him. Now, because it's a difficult thing to introduce these days. So you have to always pause it. But it's the nature of politics. It's a lot of, interest wrangling, but eventually everything will be clear as to who can do what as far as the parties are concerned.
Well, perhaps maybe we should just automatically give a right of reply to the other group to respond to some of the issues he has raised based on this court ruling that they have been able to secure.
It's a judgment, actually.
Yeah.
I think the David Mark group will have a primaries today. Their group has produced him as sole presidential candidate. We don't know what's going on with Nafiu Bala Gombe group. So it's just an interesting politics.
Well, but we're totally out of time. We'll not be able to take some of your talking points from the other stories, but we'll promise to do a recap of that tomorrow. Thank you so much for starting your week with us. We'll be back again tomorrow. Absolutely. Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Have a great week ahead.